This is Area 51, and today we're going to show you some of the cool stuff that you can open up out of Yu-Gi-Oh's newest set, King's Court. King's Court launches today. And now that we've seen the collector's rares and the surprise debut of Millennium rares, the wait was clearly worth it. I'll be honest, I never thought we'd get more support for Yugi's Poker Night or Face Night cards. They're just so wildly specific in what they do. And the thing they do is not very good. I know that's a terrible way to start off this video, but yeah, think about how far this theme has come. No more setting Shining Angel to special summon Queen's Night, hoping you draw into King's Night without drawing Jack's Night. The new Poker Night support is leagues ahead of where the archetype started. And apparently if you just keep stacking on amazing support, there is a point where running multiple copies of Jack's Knight in your deck becomes viable. Who knew? Who would have predicted that we'd be here today talking about these ancient cards and miraculously triggering their abilities? But it's not just the Poker Knights that get a buff from King's Court. XYZ Dragon Cannon, Rose Dragons, and Galaxy are just some of the themes getting new cards. And there's so much stuff in this set that I'm kind of confused about how to even label this pack. Unless you were clever enough to think that we'd get support for Poker Knights, Gear Freed, and Tin Dangle right next to reprints of Dolka and Scrap Twin Dragon, you probably share my sense of surprise. This set is weird, but it works because it's loaded with fantastic stuff. And today, we're going to look at the cards everybody wants. First up, we have Reinforcement of the Army, Rhoda. I told you this was going to be a collector's rare. Reinforcement of the Army is only stuck down at number 10 on this list because not everybody wants it. I know, here I am hyping up the collector rares, and this will certainly be one of the most expensive cards in the set. But there are some players and fans that just don't care about chase cards. Some people just want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! You could take their favorite card, literally dip it in gold and bedazzle it with jewels, and their response would be a resounding meh. And I don't blame them. Not everything is for everyone. On the flip side, remember those abysmally nauseating platinum rares from the Noble Knights of the Round Table box set. Remember those? Some people ate those up while most didn't care for them. Collector rares look cool to everyone, but some people just aren't hunting max rarities these days. And those people probably got their common copies of Reinforcement Army years ago. I think every staple or commonplace powerful card will get a collector's rare eventually. That or a different kind of premium rarity as more are introduced. Rhoda seems to be the prime candidate for all spicy rarities in the future because search cards don't really fall out of fashion. MST may be a relic of the past, but Rhoda and Marauding Captain will live in our hearts forever. Also, GOAT format players are going to sell their grandmother to pick up copies of this card. Next up, we have Hyper Galaxy. What is it with people and Galaxy Eyes cards? Wait, this is even a Galaxy's Eye card. It's just a Galaxy card. Once again, muddying the waters with this even ever-changing nightmare of nomenclature surrounding Galaxy Eyes, Photon, and Dragon cards. And did we really need another way to search Galaxy Eyes, Photon, Dragon? Personally, I wish this card mimicked Melody of Awakening Dragon, with its additive effect instead of fielding Galaxy Eyes Photon. That said, this card could probably have had an effect, and I would have put it on this list. People love Galaxy cards that much. Thankfully, this card packs quite a punch. It's at the very least useful, which isn't necessarily true for all Legacy support. Hyper Galaxy reminds me vaguely of Gemini Spark, but instead of drawing a card, you'll get a free Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon. It has the minor drawback of requiring your opponent to have a beat stick to tribute, but if you're playing the card defensively, that's perfectly acceptable. All right, next up we have Rose Princess and White Rose Cloister. Technically, this is more about White Rose Cloister, but since Rose Princess can search White Rose while also acting as a better version of terraforming, I figured I might as well include it in the discussion. Actually, Rose Princess is much better than terraforming. If your opponent controls monsters, you get to summon a free monster from your hand, and it becomes a tuner. Plant decks, specifically Rose decks, desperately need monsters on the field. And this is a nice addition to the current suite of plant cards. White Rose Cloister and Rose Princess don't actually work that well together. It's a bit ironic, but given the fact that you'll normally pitch one to search the other, I'm not sure how often you play them together anyways. Both cards require your field to be free of monsters, and bearing some extenuating circumstances, you'll usually choose between one effect or the other. I can see both of these cards being played even outside of the obvious Rose Princess, and Rose Dragon decks. Many plant decks sorely need more special summons, but for me, the best thing about White Rose Cloister is its interaction with Miracle Fertilizer. Who needs a normal summon when you have this thing? Anyways, you know what I mean? All right. Next up, we have Magnet Induction. I'm not gonna lie, there's a whole lot of nonsense written on this card. I feel like summon one Magnet Warrior from your deck would deliver the same end result in the grand scheme of things. There are stipulations to Magnet Induction, and likewise added benefits to counter the specific demands. But to me, this card first effect is the only one that matters. I mean, sure, fine, it's paired nicely with Magnetic Field, but chances are that's not why you wanted to use it anyways. If you've ever played Magnet Warrior deck, you'll know that the most frustrating thing about the strategy is the lack of interesting plays. Sure, you have some cool niche cards like Gorgonic Guardian and Berserkion, but the deck has a relatively low ceiling. The Magnet Warriors suffer from limited scope. That isn't to say they're bad cards. They're just simplistic. Half of the Magnet Warriors are normal monsters, and the others all assist each other in sort of a circular way. I love them, but I only get one normal summon turn, you know? Magnet Induction doesn't necessarily make the deck better, but it's 3 more chances to draw something interesting to keep the strategy going. And it helps if you get to your best plays more consistently, you know? And it effectively turns any Magnet Warrior into E-Telly. Next up, we have Burning Soul. Dodging your opponent's cards while synchro summoning as a quick effect is something that's just weirdly powerful. I never thought about having a card like this tapping into that spell speed 2 synchro trick that's always been exclusive to monsters like Formula Synchron. But here we are playing Burning Soul for a synchro summon on your opponent's turn is neat. It feels a lot like El Shaddoll Fusion, and how it can put an immense pressure on your opponent to open up the field for OTKs. Burning Soul is similar, but in synchro form, the surprise factor alone can be really valuable. But there's one little effect I can't get over. I'm not complaining, but why do you get a card back from your graveyard when you play this? Imagine if El Shaddoll Fusion also retrieved a card from the graveyard, or a ritual spell like Black Dragon Ritual just drew you a card for free. It's an added bonus that really helps mitigate the price of playing Burning Soul. It's a drain to your field and hand, so the extra bit of card economy definitely helps. Again, I'm not complaining. I just don't want my opponent getting back more hand traps. You know what I mean? Burning Soul is like Urgent Tuning, but literally 1,000 times better. All right, next up we have Gilta Gearfried, the Magical Steel Knight. I can't make up my mind about how good this card is, though the secondary market is clearly bullish on it. Gilta Gearfried, the Magical Steel Knight is certainly fine, but all measures of the word, but will it be anyone's ultimate card? Probably not, and that's okay. Not every card has to be the best thing since sliced bread. We have plenty of generic fusion monsters that leverage cards of all types, but one as simple as warriors with different attributes is appetizing. It's no accident this card is coming from Face Card Fusion alongside Queen's Knight, King's Knight, and Jack's Knight. As long as you play non-light warriors in your deck, Face Card Fusions effectively reads: turn a knight into Guild to Gearfried while also playing Foolish Burial. Which is pretty great, right? It's campy enough to fit Poker Knight decks, but also good enough to warrant actual use. Win. I think Guild to Gearfried will be a highly sought after card because it's, one, obviously the bounce monster of the whole shindig, and it's more generic than Face Card Fusion. The spell needs a Poker Knight to fully realize its potential. With Guild to Gearfried will be sprinkled into decks without Queen's Knight. All right, next we have Joker's Knight. This card is weirdly generic. Joker's Knight is obviously a great card for Poker Knight strategies, but it's also effectively a recursive level 5 warrior that you can special summon for free every turn, and that's really good. There aren't any major downsides here, really. There are obvious negative that you're forced to play a Poker Knight card, sure, but with Queen's Knight and Jack's Knight being level 4 and 5 normal summons, light warriors, you can definitely finagle some use of them. Those qualifiers actually bring a wild amount of support, letting you elevate Queen's Knight and Jack's Knight past the brick status you might first suspect. And Joker's Knight is recursive. Just put back your aforementioned brick and do it all again next turn. There are so many applications for this card, and I can't even begin to guess at what the best strategy might be for it. As if, as oldie, Two Tales of Noble Knights needed to be any easier to summon. The Poker Knight cards have a cult following stemming in part from their role in Yu-Gi fandom. When you have the sheer force of nostalgia backed by a wildly, wickedly powerful generic card and some cool art, it's no wonder Joker's Knight is in demand. All right, next up we have number FO, Utopic Draco Future. I was looking through some of the pre-sale prices for King's Court singles, and needless to say, the price tag on this one wasn't a big surprise. It isn't the best negation card out there. It's so easy to summon and so incredibly useful, as if you've probably noticed. Yugioh has really migrated towards a strategy of using monsters to solve problems whenever possible, and the best ones are usually the ones you can summon from your extra deck. You never have to draw them, they're always accessible, and that makes them reliable when you need them the most. Regeki, Dark Hole, Smashing Ground, those were classic troubleshooting cards in the past, but they're hard to draw and often limited in scope. Not only are they tough to get to, but they take up room in your main deck, and they only do a very few specific things. Sometimes they just aren't useful, and that's a big problem. On the other hand, extra deck answers are versatile, and if they aren't useful, you're never forced to draw them and try to figure out what to do with them as dead cards. Perfect, right? Well, Utopic Draco specifically guards against that type of play. Just as you started packing away all your spells that deal with threats so you could stuff them under your bed, Utopic Draco makes a mockery of your option and eats up all the precious tech monsters you were going to rely on. It's going to see lots of table time moving forward, and try not to get caught up in the ridiculously convoluted natural summoning method. I went out of my way trying to think of ways to make 3 monsters with the same rank when that's redundant with its alternate summoning condition. All right, number 2, we have Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm is just, it's such a good card. It's basically Regeki or Harpy's Feather Duster, depending on how you feel. There are some minor stipulations to playing this card, sure, but none of them are enough to make me call the card anything less than what it is: amazing. This is one of the best go second cards in the game right now, and one of the staple side deck cards that, until this week, created a handicap for all but most moneyed players. Some of you people just can't afford that. Lightning Storm's not right for every strategy, but it works insanely well for its purpose, similar to Triple T. Using Lightning Storm with the right timing is wildly beneficial. When you're behind in the game, this card gives you a huge leg up. That's one of the reasons I've been so vocal about the need for a Lightning Storm reprint. I'm okay with the best themes having a high price tag, but for the sake of general game balance, the utility cards that exist so you can try and play the game are really important. And Lightning Storm may not directly win the game for you, but it can clear the field or bait negations, so you can at least have a chance at playing your cards when your opponent's got a big setup. You know what I mean? His field is flooded with cards. The budget reprint is great, and for higher end collectors and max rarity duelists, we know there's a Lightning Storm collector's rare too. And yet, with all of that, it's probably not the most coveted card in this set, because here it is, the Egyptian God cards in a Millennium rare. We pulled a few in this case, and okay, well, I was certainly surprised. The Sacred Beast, Wicked Gods, Egyptian Gods have all had an insane year with plenty of re-releases, with the Ring Dragon of Ra Ghost Rare, the secret rare printings of all three Egyptian Gods in the Speed Duel Battle City box, and new ultra rares in the Egyptian God decks. There's plenty out there. I didn't think we'd be getting buffed up rarities with these cards so soon. But with all the new support for Slifer, Obelisk, and Ra, as well as the strong demand from the fans and players, nostalgia, collectors all across the board, you know what I mean? It makes sense to see a new premium printing of the God cards in King's Court. And they look beautiful. Amazing. They look great. Let me wind that back, because it's still kind of fresh news. Obelisk the Tormentor, Slifer Sky Dragon, Winged Dragon Ra are back in King's Court with a new take on long-awaited Millennium Rare Parallel Prismatic Effect, which debuted in the OCG back in 2015. Details are still pretty sketchy as of this video, but as far as rumors suggest, that these are 1 per case chase cards. We had a little bit better luck in our pools, but that's Area 51 for you. And if that's the case, the Millennium Rare God cards are going to be 3 of the absolute hottest cards of the year. You only have to look back at Toon Chaos and Battles of Legend Armageddon last year to see how hot these cards will probably be. Anytime a new premium rarity debuts like this, it's always a huge hit. That factor, combined with the sheer fan power of Obelisk, Slifer, and Ra, puts them at the top of my list for King's Court. 1 case of King's Court. That's right, that's 12 booster boxes, 288 booster packs, packed full of collector rares, Pharaoh rares, or Millennium Rare. Amazing set, I do have to say. And here at Area 51, we buy cards or do trades every single day. Our website gets packed full of new stuff every day, so keep checking that website. It's area51tcg.com. If you don't already follow us on our social media, it's at area51tcg. I want to thank you all for watching. Leave a comment, hit subscribe, tell your grandma about it, write a letter to your congressman. I do appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.